Hey guys, so about a month ago, I took a break from the normal content to post a more personal video that wasn't scripted and I just spoke from the heart for over 30 minutes. To my surprise, it seems like a lot of you preferred that style of video, so I'm bringing it back to talk about another topic that I feel very strongly about, and that would be money. I've recently started to see all these articles breaking down why Gen Z is splurging on luxurious goods to soothe their economic despair. Or millennials are now exaggerating their wealth to appear richer than they are on social media. And there's this new phrase of doom spending to represent the belief that people are so financially screwed that it's pointless to even try. Honestly, it just seems like these types of situations are only getting worse. There are too many mistakes being made for me just to sit back and try to just acknowledge what's going on, along with some potential solutions so you don't fall into the same traps. Like, I've literally read through every single article that I could find on these topics, and I've broken them down because it's kind of absolutely destroy your money if you aren't careful. So here's exactly what to avoid, and we'll start. Oh, and by the way, if you prefer this style of video that tends to be a lot more back, it's less scripted, it's more off the cuff, just let me know in the comments section. I'll do my best to read and reply to as many of you as I can. And also a big thank you to Cook Unity for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Because anyway, I read through a lot of these doom spending articles, and I hate to say it, but the situation is a lot worse and a lot more common than expected. Like this article found that 43% of millennials and 35% of Gen Z has basically given up on the idea of saving any money because the concept of buying a house or a car or paying off any debts seems completely pointless. But I'll tell you, if you want to make a substantial change to your finances, you're absolutely going to regret not focusing on the first $10,000. Here's what I mean. When you're just starting out, let's say you got your first job, you're starting to figure things out, and you're realizing how expensive it is just to be alive, saving money is really, really difficult. In fact, it's now reported that at 73%, millennials are the most likely generation to live paycheck to paycheck. So it's no wonder why there's this mentality of, well, I'm already financially screwed to begin with, so I may as well just spend whatever money I have left over now so I could at least enjoy myself, because otherwise, I'm not enjoying myself and then making no progress towards anything I'd want to buy anyway, so may as well just spend it. But you know what, I'll tell you firsthand, if you have what it takes to make the first $10,000, then you also have what it takes to make your first $1 million, and if that sounds stupid, sounds crazy, I'll break it down for you. It goes something like this. Excuse my language here, it's not me saying this, it's Charlie Munger. But he once said that the first $100,000 is a bitch, but you gotta do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you could ease off the gas a little bit. I know, easier said than done, but how do you make it to $100,000 when that's more than what most people will ever save? Well, like I mentioned earlier, it starts with $10,000, and just like with any goal, here's how you could achieve it. First, you gotta break down the time frame. The thing is, when you set a goal and you don't have a specific time frame to get it done by, you're never gonna get it done. It's like Parkinson's law that suggests that your work expands to fill the time available for its completion. So when it comes to saving something like $10,000, give yourself a year to do it. Second, you just gotta start right now. I've just noticed that you have the most momentum when you're initially excited about the idea of starting something new. And then after about a day or so, that excitement wears off and you're left with the reality that your entire life has been one giant procrastination. So don't do that. Just start immediately. 3, you gotta also create a budget. All you need to do to make this happen is sign up for any one of those money tracking websites that aggregates all of your information together. It links your bank accounts and credit cards, and then it shows you in real time how much money is going into and out of your bank account. Once you do this, I guarantee you're gonna see all these random little things that just pop up that you didn't ever actually need, and those are the ones that you can cut back on. 4, you then gotta pay yourself first. I know this is the most cliche money planning advice that everyone always says, but it's true. By paying yourself first, or basically just taking money off the top and transferring it into an account that you do not touch under any circumstances, it forces you to live off whatever's left over, and by doing so, you're gonna rack up a lot of savings. And then finally, 5, you gotta get a side hustle. Like, the fact is, it is possible to get to the point where saving more money becomes completely counterproductive. Like, we all know not to spend too much money on a brand new car, to rent a luxury apartment on an entry-level salary, or not to eat out at restaurants too much. But when you're already spending as little money as you could possibly get away with, then making more money becomes the next logical step. And with a side hustle or second part-time job, that's the easiest way to go about doing this. This all means that if you're able to save an extra $10,000 a year and you invest that into the markets, which historically has generated a 7% return, in 7.84 years, you'll have your $100,000. From there, if you just keep doing the exact same thing and you keep saving just $10,000 a year, you'll be able to reach that next $100,000 in just 5.1 years. Then again, if you just stay the course, you'll make another $100,000 in only 3.78 years, and another $100,000 in 3 years after that, and another $100,000 in 2.5 years after that. This means that theoretically, you could go from $600,000 to $1 million in less time than it took you to go from that 0 to the first $100,000. That's why, even though it might seem pointless to save some extra money now because it doesn't add up to much, if you could just save an extra $28 a day and do that on a regular basis, you'll have your first $100,000. And then after that point, if you stay consistent, that does all the heavy lifting for you. Second, another aspect that does not get enough attention is the fact that most people are living an extremely unhealthy lifestyle. Like, did you know that 56% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 25 are either overweight or obese? The average American has more than 9 alcoholic drinks a week, and only 28% get enough exercise. You know, all of this reminds me of a Facebook post the other day by Alex Becker, and he summarized it perfectly. He said, at 30, I always assumed that I would just have to accept aging. At 36, I realized this is simply because most people just have terrible lifestyles and habits that build in their 20s and catch them post-30 as the negative effects start to pile up. Declining at 3 to 5% a year due to your habits leads to a massive decline over time. You see this at 30 plus as people put on an extra 3 to 5 pounds a year. By 35, they're obese, inflamed, complaining about getting old, and assume this just happens. It does not. Age as well as you like. Anecdotally, I found all of that to be completely true. Like, I just turned 34 years old, and believe it or not, I'm in better shape today than I was back at 25. Albeit I have to work a lot harder to get there, but the habit stuck with me. Like, I remember getting my first gym membership at 24 Hour Fitness when I was 19 years old, and I would go after work, I'd listen to a self-help audio book, and I remember thinking to myself that no matter what happened earlier in the day, even if I had a really important day, I got nothing done. When I went to the gym, I remember thinking to myself, at least I went to the gym. I got something nice done for myself today, and that's a win. To me, I guess I just saw fitness as something that I had direct control over. I felt really safe with it. It was 100% difference. Like, it was my choice to go to the gym, my choice to eat healthy, my choice to live healthy. It was my choice to stay longer. And I think all of that built in compound with a lot of mental fortitude. This was also one of the reasons why I started eating clean, stopped eating fast food, stopped drinking alcohol. Because why would I want to destroy all the progress I just made at the gym by doing these things that I don't really want to do anymore? And this journey has not always been a straight line for me. There's been times where I've not been as good as I should have, but it is possible at any age to correct course and get in the best shape you've ever been in your entire life. Separate from that, from a financial standpoint, there's a direct correlation that employees who exercise regularly earn approximately 9% more than those who do not. Of course, it could be that the personality type to exercise on a regular basis is also the same type who want to advance more within their career. The point still remains. Regular exercise is found to improve energy, focus, mood, and motivation. So if you want a life advantage to getting ahead, this is it. Plus, like I mentioned earlier, the older I've gotten, the more I've begun to realize how important it is to take your diet and the foods you put in your body extremely serious. Like when it comes to myself, I just found that when I eat random snacks throughout the day or have a cheat meal because I'm really busy and I just want to save some time, it ends up with me feeling tired, lethargic, and just really demotivated throughout the entire day. But thankfully though, as I later found out, there are options out there that not only save you a lot of time, but also taste insanely good. And that's thanks to our sponsor, Cookini. Without exaggeration, these Cookini meals taste like I'm eating gourmet food by a private chef without actually having to go and pay the cost of a private chef. That's because Cookini's first chef-friendly platform that delivers freshly prepared, pre-selected meals right to your door weekly. It's convenient, they use extremely high-quality ingredients, and best of all, picking out your meals is incredibly easy. Just choose a subscription plan and select from hundreds of meals each week prepared by award-winning chefs. All the meals are delivered fully cooked, so all you have to do is heat them up. Lunch or dinner is ready in a few minutes, and there's no cleanup or meal planning whatsoever. Their subscription is also really flexible, with options for 4 to 16 meals a week. It's commitment-free, and you can skip, pause, or cancel anytime with the click of a button. It literally takes you seconds, and their subscriptions cost as low as $11 a meal, which is less than I previously spent on fast food. And if you're wondering what to get, I recently tried and loved their mustard-crusted salmon by Lou de la Fave and crispy tilapia over Greek salad by Chef Ruben Garcia. All of it tastes like I'm eating food right from the restaurant, except with the convenience of getting it delivered right to my door without having to get in the car, drive, wait in traffic, stand in line. It's all video. Alright, so if you'd like another super simple, practical step that you could start immediately, for free, that'll put you leagues ahead in terms of building your wealth, it's this. Build your credit score. Unfortunately, this for me was just one of those lessons that I learned the hard way, because growing up, I was taught that debt was bad. I distinctly remember my parents paying for everything with a debit card, them telling me that credit card companies were always out to get you, and if you couldn't afford to buy something outright in cash, you shouldn't be able to buy it. For whatever reason, from all the things I saw growing up, that just stuck with me. And as I started making my own money, I started to really like and embrace the idea of only buying things that I could afford outright in cash that I had sitting in my account. Even as I got older, I made my first adult purchase, which was a 2005 Toyota Prius. And I purposely waited until I had all the money available in cash before I went to buy the car. And it was really nice. There was something really calming about not having all these random monthly payments. And for me, I just started to believe, truly deep down, that this is the best way to manage your money. Now, of course, I did have a few friends who were telling me to go and open up a credit card at the time, just to be able to build credit. But I was really stubborn, and I thought I was so cool. I thought I was so much smarter than them, because I never needed a credit card. I never needed a loan. I thought it was so cool to be able to brag. I could just save up and buy whatever I wanted. And that wasn't until I wanted to buy a house. At the time, it was 2011. The real estate market was in gutter, and I had $100,000 saved up after 4 years of working as a real estate agent. So I went to all these lenders, and I told them I wanted to use this payment to go and buy a property. But they all said the same thing. They ran my credit report, and nothing came up, because there's no history. There's nothing there. As a result of that, they denied me, despite me having tax returns, despite me having to get a payment. It was that experience really just taught me that if you want to win the game of money, you gotta play the game of money. This means building your credit score as soon as possible and then use it to your advantage. Because the fact is, people with good credit scores get the lowest interest rates when they want to apply for a mortgage or get a car, or even get accepted on a rental, because the person with a good score is more likely to get it than the person with a bad score. It might even help them save money putting down on deposits with utility bills. There's so many ancillary things. Having a good credit score is just going to help. In terms of how to do this, all you got to do is open up a no annual fee credit card like the Discover It's Secured, put a few minor expenses on the card in a month you're spending anyway, and then pay off the card in full. Once you do that for 6 months, repeat the process with another no annual fee credit card. Within about 2 years of doing that, paying it off on time, in full, always, no matter what, you'll have a whole bunch of positive trade lines on your report, and by doing so, you'll probably have a pretty decent expense. Now, don't get this confused. It's not about borrowing money to buy stupid stuff you don't need and waste it. It's simply about taking advantage of the credit system to be able to get the lowest rates possible, to be able to get accepted for things that you would be buying anyway, and saving money by doing so. Without exaggeration, had I not been stubborn, if I'd done this when I was 18 years old, I could have easily made $1 million because I would have leveraged my money during a time where real estate was getting a 1/5 the value it is today. So just let my misfortune be your blessing. Build your credit, stick with it long term. Your credit score, hopefully that'll help make you money. And fourth, when it comes to stuff like this, don't wait for things to happen, because it won't. I remember the first time this clicked for me, I just got my real estate license, and I began working underneath another agent. He would allow me to shadow him throughout the day, he would give me tasks to work on, and I would stay as late as he needed to get whatever he wanted. But one morning I showed up, and he was out of the office. So I spent my time viewing homes on the MLS. Probably checked my emails every 5 to 10 minutes. I spent the entire day in front of a computer doing absolutely nothing. And then I left and showed back up the next day. He was also out of the office. So I wasted that entire day too. I did absolutely nothing. The next day, the same thing. I did absolutely nothing. And it took me about a week to realize, wait a second. I don't know how to manage my own time without someone else telling me what to do. Let that sink in. Growing up, you're told exactly what to do and when to do it by your parents. When you go to school, you're told to complete very specific assignments with very specific instructions. You get there at 8 a.m. Lunch is at 12:30. School ends at 3:30. He gets out an hour earlier. Breaks at 10:15. There's just so much structure that it becomes impossible for you to be able to figure out how to manage your own time on your own schedule, doing what you want, and most people never have that opportunity. Instead, they go to college, which is a similar structure to high school. Then they get a job, which is a similar structure to college. And that's great if you like instruction and you just want to be told what to do, but it's horrible to have autonomy over your life. For me, it was really just those days in front of a computer, waiting for someone to tell me what to do while I made absolutely no money. It made me realize that if there's something I want to go after, it's on me to be able to make it happen. It's on me to make those decisions for myself. In life, there's just really no one out there who's going to push you to take risks, to get yourself out of your comfort zone, go to the gym, study college, and to pursue your dreams and really make that a reality. I mean, plenty of parents out there want the best for their kids, but I would venture to argue that most of them would rather them be safe and take a risky family. And you bet, they're not pushing you to try to keep your kids safe. That's why you really got to take matters into your own hands, because as an adult, no one is going to save you. No one cares if you don't achieve your potential. And I'm sure your friends are great, but I'm sure even in those circumstances, they don't want you to progress too far ahead of them. They might be afraid that you would leave them behind. Although if you really want to make the most out of life, I recommend doing this. First, think about what you really want out of it. Think very clearly about what you want to set out to achieve. Do you want to business? Do you want a great period of time where you can go home and you can check out and be done with work? Do you want to go and travel? Do you want more money? So, what do you need the money for specifically? I would take a few days to be as clear as possible for every single part of your life that you would like to change. And then you need to consider how much you would pay for this. And by paying, I don't mean money. But achieving anything beyond the bare minimum is going to come with some level of sacrifice. That could be giving up all your waking free time. It could be cutting out short-term fun. It could be the financial risk of losing absolutely everything. But here's what I think. Once the pain of changing becomes less unbearable than the pain of never achieving what you actually want out of life, the price you pay seems cheap compared to a lifestyle that stays exactly the same. This entire mindset shift really set me in a different trajectory, because I thought to myself, if there's something I want, I now have the power to be able to work towards. In my case, the sacrifice was simply living like a broke college kid throughout my entire 20s. It meant constantly delaying gratification, no matter how badly I wanted something. It meant having absolutely no free time beyond anything just work-related. But the payoff was that allowed me to pursue what I really wanted to do. Not to mention, making YouTube videos was another example of doing just that. I had always wanted to make YouTube videos talking about my experiences saving money, working as a real estate agent, and building credit and optimizing credit card rewards points. But I always thought to myself, I could always do it in the future. No one would listen to me anyway until I get more experience, so it's probably better I just wait and I don't do it. But years passed by until it got to the point where I realized that no one's going to push me to do this, and if I don't take the initiative right now to do it myself, I'm never going to do it. And so I did. And here we are, 7 years later. Moral of the story, whatever you want out of life, be very clear about it, and then work towards making that a reality. Sure, you might fail. Yeah, it'll take some getting used to, but recognizing that you have complete autonomy over your time is a very powerful force to be reckoned with. Now next, speaking of pursuing what you want, I know I just alluded to it, but you're gonna have to embrace the risk of failing, or at least losing a lot of time and money. Look, when it comes to anything money related, I've definitely operated with a scarcity mentality. For whatever reason, ever since I was a kid, I've had this belief that everything could disappear in a moment's notice. And because of that, I don't like taking a lot of risks. Like, I would rather keep what I have and risk it to potentially make even more. And even though this is great for things like saving money and being consistent, it's also holding me back from pursuing things because I wasn't sure if they'd pan out. This apparently is called money dysmorphia, where you feel insecure about your finances, even though generally you have nothing to worry about. And apparently it's also really common. Like about 50% of millennials and Gen Z feel this way. Some say it's because they became an adult during the great financial crisis. Others say it was seeing how quickly things change for them. Personally, it seems like led to worst case scenario because you never know what might happen. And that's how I justify it. But even when acknowledging that, you also have to realize that no matter what you do, there is the risk that it's not going to work out. In my case, at 18 years old, I bet everything I had on becoming a real estate agent. But I wasn't worried about failing, because if I failed, I had nowhere to fall, because I was really starting out at the bottom. And the worst case scenario was that I was wasting my time, of which was worth nothing to begin with. From there, I invested all of my savings into the real estate market. And I thought to myself, the risk is these homes decline in value, but they're never going to be worth anything. I could always rent them out for something, and even if things go absolutely wrong, I would just end up making less money than expected. So, all except I am creating this YouTube channel. The risk was that I'd spend my evenings working on a channel that went nowhere, and I'd embarrass myself. So that was a risk I thought was worth accepting. I hate to say it, but I've done this similar risk versus reward behavior throughout my entire life. Any time I'm thinking about an eventually, I think to myself, what's the worst case scenario? How likely is that to happen? And probably it's never going to happen anyway, so it doesn't matter. Let's give an example of this. Let's say you want to try a new job. The worst case scenario is that you hate the job and you have to stay there until you try to find something better. But the best case scenario is that you love it and wind up making more money. So that seems like a great risk to take. On the other hand, betting your entire life savings on an untested business venture that has a high risk of failing is a really bad risk. I don't think that is worth pursuing to that degree. So instead, test it out, do it at a small scale, grow it over time, and then you're still able to pursue it, but without the risk of downside. I think you get where I'm going with this.
Yes.
The way I see it is that there are ways for you to pursue what you want and try different things while limiting the downside. And if you could become clear about what that is, you could still go and do it. The downside is really not that bad, and they are worth pursuing. And finally, please say yes to new opportunities. Looking back, there were so many random events and gatherings that I could have gone to, but I said no because I was tired. I didn't want to leave the house, and I felt awkward going alone. I know it sounds silly, but in hindsight, I should have gone. And every single time you push yourself to do something you didn't want to do, you look back at it, and you're always glad you did. I guess it's kind of like the same feeling as going to the gym, where you really don't feel like going. It seems like the last thing on your mind you want to do. But then you go. And then afterwards, you're really happy you did it. Apply that towards just about any invite or opportunity to push yourself and meet somebody new, and good things usually happen. The way I see it is that, especially when you're just starting out in a career, you never know where the next big opportunities will come up, who you'll be able to meet, or what you'll get offered. The more you put yourself out there, the higher the chances are that you'll be exposed to new ideas, jobs, and people that could change your outlook. I know it's easy to get complacent, and sometimes you don't have the energy, but if you have nothing else better going on, get out of the house, meet new people, and I promise it's not going to be something you'll regret. And that is my very long-winded advice for anyone who finds it helpful or is willing to listen to it. I really appreciate that. Let me know what you guys think about these types of videos down below in the comments section. Hit the like button and subscribe if you made it all the way through. That's all I ask for. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much, and until next time.
For me, a classic album, of course, I started off as a DJ. I always listen to the music first. So the beats are very important. Then I start listening to the lyrics. What is this person saying? Does he deserve to be on the mic on that beat? Sonically, how does it sound? The quality of it, to me, is super important. The lyrics have to be relevant at that time. You know, when you listen to Illmatic, you drove by a block and you saw exactly what he was saying.
This piece of work, Illmatic, was just something else.
Came from a tough neighborhood, Queensbridge Project, and a lot of other greats came from there. But him, he made it happen.
This right here was just like a magic moment for all of us.
Nas changed my life. I wanted to name my first son Nasir over that.
I call him the greatest. Oh, yeah, Nas is number one.
I like Nas because he's himself.
Like New York needs to always be proud of this album.
If you don't got this album, then you not know you're here.
There are plenty of albums that are considered classics, a couple of debut albums that are considered game changers, but there's only one, Illmatic. Released in '94, Nas's revered LP still reverberates in the corridor of hip-hop history 30 years later.
If I'm going to speak for a nation, the music got to be rap. I mean, that's what I concentrate on. Listening pleasure, and it's lyrics and beats. Got to blend. That's rap.
Born in 1973, the son of jazz musician Oludara, Nas grew up playing the trumpet and navigating New York City's adverse urban jungles. His neighborhood, a sprawling housing project notorious for its challenges, provided the fertile ground from which the prolific MC would draw his story.
Anybody that's involved with hip-hop, not everybody, but anybody that come from the street culture that was so deep into what they were doing and learn how to turn around and evolve to other different things, he's one of the main ones I mentioned.
Before I made music, I was listening to street uplifting and shit. I love rappers that talk about something. It had me thinking, so it was like, oh, it was cool.
I never expected my music to be accepted past my projects, or mostly all the ghettos, the same thing, different ways of living. So I never really thought my material will be heard by as many people as heard by today. That's a blessing right there.
I mean, from Illmatic to Stillmatic, it's like, Nas the guy.
His entry into the early 90s rap scene wasn't a mere introduction, it was a revelation as a fire-spitting youngin' whose features showcased a raw, unfiltered lyricism that shook the streets and set him on the path to GOAT status. This was most relevant in his verse on 1991's Live at the Barbecue alongside Main Source, Akinelli, and Joe Fader.
My style is just straight out of my head. Sometimes there's no filter between my brain and my mouth, so it just comes out.
Not only are we from the same project, we grew up together and, you know, we hung out extensively. When that album came out, I mean, the whole hood was playing that. Whole hood was playing that. We was super proud of him. And that kind of like, you know, put the fire, you know what I'm saying, to us real quick.
From the perspective of New York State of Mind, from the perspective of The World Is Yours and One Love especially, like they just hit me in ways that was like, why did he say that?
Oh wow, Illmatic, this is like, and just even the, you know, the people that are on the inside, on the inner cover, like these are the guys that were coming in the studio that all of their voices are on this. So like all of these spirits in this vinyl is crazy.
It's important that, you know, everything you do be right. You know what I'm saying? That's why everything about me is righteous. I try to be righteous, even though I talk about the harsh realities of the street. That's all we know, you know what I mean? But, you know, I try to put some intellect into it. It's only right.
But it wasn't until 1994 that Nas became legendary. 3 years after signing to Columbia Records with the help of MC Search at the height of the East-West rap beef, 20-year-old Nas unleashed his 10-song magnum opus, and the rap game was starkly and immediately altered. He was praised as the second coming of rap god Rakim, and his cinematic studio debut earned the Source magazine's rare, highly coveted 5-mic rating.
During that time, you know, your producer was your producer. So like, say like Easy Beats makes his producer, or Pete Rock beats for CL, or, you know, this album was a unison of some of the top dope producers that we all like. And it really wasn't a norm back then. You get a producer and you work, you got Premier, Q-Tip, Pete Rock, Large Paul, Elliott, all on one album, and it just became a cohesive piece of art, a masterpiece.
So before Nas came out, I was doing flows that like, boss it, check it, watch out. And he came out with that, his lyrics, and I really studied this album.
I can't.
And I listened to it every single day. 20-something years later, I listen to Illmatic every day to get me going. And it's my favorite album ever made in hip-hop music.
Forget about it, it's one of the greatest albums ever. It's not even just a great rap album, it's a great album. It's so cohesive, it's a masterpiece.
And I'm not the type that really looks for that quick shine, you know what I'm saying? I'm in it for the long run.
One album alone cannot define Nas's journey from Queensbridge to hip-hop immortality, but the now multi-platinum collaboration of a young rapper and a cadre of producers ignited a revolution in the hip-hop world.
He's incredible. I don't know why the conversation is something when we talk about the greatest MC. I don't know why we talk about this so obvious. He the illest.
By all measures, Illmatic is the bar for crowning kings of New York and rap too. There's one life, one love, so there can only be one king. So I directed the video for It Ain't Hard to Tell. What I really wanted to do, Whose World Is This? That was the one that was produced by Pete Rock. They had this other guy do that video, and that was the video right after mine. And I was like, man, I love that piano, man. I wanted to do that, but it ain't hard to tell. Come on. you.